Hey, folks, what's going on? I'm Scott, and that's Ryan. And again, it's just the two of us this week. Rob Manning is working, and Davion, to his credit, is currently seeing an advanced screening of The Flash. So we will be doing basically putting up something shortly on that about his review, his thoughts, and everything like that. But I think all things considered, that's a damn good reason for him not to be here. Um, as always, though, Mr. Ryan O'Regan, you fantastic, charismatic, and full-haired person, like myself. How are you, man?
I was almost at the same showing with Davion. He invited me, and I'm like, "Oh, well, I mean, if I go, then that means Scott would be by himself for the show, right?" He said
He,
yes, and I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh, I can't do that to Scott." I mean, I didn't go ahead and say that. My own thoughts on the movie probably proclaimed me to not want to go see it to begin with, but yeah, no, I couldn't leave it to
oh,
you,
thank you.
obviously.
I appreciate it.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if it was
I feel so
Across the
loved.
Spider Verse,
Yeah.
you'd be SOL right now. But since it's the Flash,
If it's basically Marvel from the Spider-Man aspect. So
no. Look, if it was that, or I guess I would probably also say the same thing maybe for Indiana Jones.
hmm
Although I have a storied history with seeing those movies with my sister primarily, so that has to keep up this year as well. But yeah,
well,
anything
we're
else, I'm right here.
thank you, man. I appreciate that. But so okay, so we'll require two in this case. So June 30th, they won't be around. Got it. But actually, we're going to be talking about in this case here, breaking out a new segment because right now we're getting into June blockbusters. So with the way things have been doing right now in Hollywood and in the theaters, we're going to be doing something that we're kind of kicking around the name for blockbuster or just bust, or the name you go with, which I kind of actually really kind of prefer, cash or trash. Where we're going to be talking about four specific films in this case that we think, probably the most interested in this case here. Uh, Two of them you've already mentioned. And will they succeed? Will they fail? Will they be somewhere in the middle? So I wanted to get in a feel from you in this particular case. Figuring in this case, we can probably start off since you just happened to mention Spider Verse as the first example in this particular case. Let's talk a little bit about Spider Verse. This is the highly anticipated sequel to the unexpected hit from the first Spider Verse movie. And
Unexpected Academy Award winning hit.
sorry, let me apologize for that. Yes, Academy Award winning, which animations rarely ever do, outside of their own category too. But in this case, it surprised a lot of people that this movie did as well as it did because it's not Peter Parker, it's Miles Morales. It took things in a different feel in a lot of ways and was really shocking to a lot of people how good this movie was.
Mm.
So it's taken a few years, but on June 2nd, we are getting the second Spider Verse movie, in this case, Across the Spider Verse. Now,
Part one.
what's that? Part one, yes.
Yes, yeah, it will
Now,
be a
in
two
this
parter.
particular case, the questions that we're going to ask in this regard is: will these movies do well at the box office? Will they fail at the box office? Will they fall somewhere in between? Or is it something where it's a maybe? So, in our case of cash or trash, for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, this movie comes in at $100 million. So, argument would have to be made that it would have to pull in about $200 million at the box office just to break even. Do you think it's going to be able to do that?
Oh hell yes! Oh my god, absolutely.
Okay.
First of all, this is a movie that we should have gotten much sooner, considering the original was released. What was that? That was
2018, I believe.
2018.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are, like because of the pandemic and everything was pushed back. But yeah, this has so much anticipation for it. I would say more so than the rest of the movies you're probably going to talk about.
hmm
And the fact that this is just like a nice continuation from the first movie. It's not like necessarily a cash grab or anything like that. But we are delving more into the idea of like how the first movie was saying like anybody could wear the mask. You could
hmm
wear the mask. Well, now we are seeing how does he actually fare up against other Spider-Men who obviously have to have like a certain track record, a certain pathos to their storyline. Does he measure up or is he too much of an oddball? It's still continuing around that same track, and it's going to be a much, much, much. Oh my god, I'm verklempt over you thinking about it. I am just really looking forward to this movie, man. It's like, oh,
2 weeks.
I really didn't think I was ever gonna think about like any kind of continuation on this series and really be able to enjoy it. But yeah, out of the others that we're probably going to talk about, and this has the special idea of like being the first of the month.
Hmm.
This is the one that everything else is going to have to compare to.
Yes.
This is absolute cash. Take all my money. If I didn't have AMC A list, you would be able to take my money. But since I have 3 free movies a week because of that, all of them go into this.
So basically, yeah, you got the Fry from Futurama. Shut up and take my money here.
Boom, just right there.
But coming in, like I said, at a very reasonable 100 million, even though some have actually said 90 million, that is a very attainable goal in today's AMC world.
It is making that in the first weekend, I guarantee you. Between that and worldwide box office, this
Hmm.
thing's already going to make money well over what is going to be necessary.
And I think what probably helps it, believe it or not, is No Way Home. Because while Marvel has been struggling, No Way Home was arguably the last really strong Marvel movie that they had. So as a result, you're riding on the coattails of the last successful Marvel movie, which is in the same, it was Spider-Man.
The
So there's
only
a trust
downside
there.
this movie has is that it's not going to have Nick Cage in it again,
Mhm.
which was one of my favorites from the last movie.
But I think it can survive without that.
Well,
I think 5 years is a little too long,
yeah,
but
I mean,
COVID being what it
depending, we don't
was.
know what the second movie is going to be like in this,
Hmm.
two-parter. So, if nothing else, work up the anticipation to bring back a lot of the favorites. Bring back Spider Ham. Bring
Hmm.
back Noir.
Oh, they're going to expand
As
this
like,
thing way out than first versus the
yeah,
first
yeah,
one.
they've already got so many to work with. So it's like build up
They're
what
gonna
your favorites
Mario
are going
Brothers
to
this
be.
thing.
Hmm.
They might have actually gone in and done some editing post afterwards, seeing what Mario did, and be like, maybe we can shoehorn a few more things in there.
Yeah, no, no. And then when nostalgia is king, you do what you can, but you also try to feed in all the new fans too.
Member berries are a powerful thing, especially with nowadays in the TikTok generation. It's more powerful than
Mhm.
ever. So, okay, so we are both in agreement here. This movie is definitely cash.
Oh yeah.
Okay, moving on to the second one here. This one, like I said, we've already established. Um, we're talking right now about Flash. His movie, obviously, we got Supergirl in there. We've got Michael Shannon is coming back in this. And of course, Michael Keaton is coming back in this, which is a massive, massive aspect of this. This movie clocks in at 220 million, which honestly, for a fair right nowadays, when it comes to comic book movies, is not that bad. I think personally, I'll take this one in this case. I think personally, this one will succeed. I do not think it may necessarily do as well as Spider Verse, but it will recoup its losses. 220 times 2 equals 440. It's probably going to land 650, 700, give or take my mind. I think Ezra Miller's stigma right now, I think can hurt it a little bit. But as we have learned from WB or Warner Brothers, Ezra Miller, Amber Heard, they kind of don't care about these sort of things. you know, at the end of the day, they're just like, all right, well, if it makes us cash, screw it, we're okay. And I think the backlash is going to hurt it a little bit, but I think it's going to make decent cash. Will it make Spider Verse cash? Maybe not. But in my mind, I think I'll say 675. It'll make.
Right. And that really becomes the question with a movie like this. Obviously, you have the fanboys that would probably die for DC regardless of the movie. But it becomes the question, what is stronger? The vilification of Ezra Miller or the nostalgia factor of Michael Keaton coming back to the cowl? Especially since this is going to have him. Plus, it's still going to have Ben Affleck's Batman
Yes,
involved in it
well,
as
I forgot to
well.
mention.
So I mean, it's really going ahead and blending the divide between like the old Snyderverse, which is really slowly becoming like edged out,
Hmm.
and this soft reboot that they keep saying that the Flash is going to be for leaning into James Gunn's DCU. So it really depends on if you're a layperson and you're not like hardcore into this sort of stuff. You may want to step away from this unless the Michael Keaton thing really gets you, because this almost feels like a movie that is more for the particular fan base and
Hmm.
not necessarily for the wider movie going audience. And that might be its downfall in that respect. Yeah, 220 is not too bad as far as like something of this caliber when you look at some of the money that was spent on the others. But DC has been faltering a little bit between Shazam 2 and Black Adam.
Hmm.
Not a lot has been going into DC movies as of late. Not a lot of people have been going to it. So one can only hope that this is just so much going on at once, but it's just enough going on at once.
I think the Ezra Miller thing is only hurting a very small group of people, predominantly women in this case. And I'm not justifying anything here, but the Flash also, to be fair, was not targeting that demographic. I think DC is focusing more on the guy aspect of it, where Marvel's trying to focus really more on the female demographic. I think what Ezra Miller did and everything like that, I think is going to hurt to a small degree, but like you said, is going to be offset by the power of Michael Keaton coming back and Ben Affleck coming back, and we'll make it better. Now, for those of us in New Jersey, yes, we are aware that Ezra Miller is from Wyckoff and home of also Tara Reid and the Jonas Brothers. But irrespective of that, I think he has enough star power in there despite everything to make it interesting. I think this may be a better film or better series that he's got than the Harry Potter prequels, which people kind of forget he's even in at this point. So I think it's cash, but I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna do well. I think
Yeah,
it'll be
especially
okay.
yeah. Also, the other thing of it is this is coming in after Spider Verse. This is going to be the
Mhm.
next weekend after. So, is it going to overtake Spider Man? I don't
Mm,
know. It may come in as a
50-50 in
number
my
two
mind.
showing, and Spider Man may be enough to hold on to the number one spot. So, as long as it does well enough worldwide, then fine. But I don't know if it'll do as well domestically.
Yeah. Well, that's the weird thing lately. A lot of the movies. I mean, I'll use Fast X for example. That movie died here in the states, but it did pretty well overseas so far. I think the tune of about four-ish to one, $4 to one.
Right, but that's also a franchise that's about like a decade's worth of movies long, or 2 decades
And
actually.
and also films very heavily outside the US anyway.
Yeah, so it
You
has
know.
that international appeal. This, eh,
Eh. Now, what's interesting about this is because you talked about how James Gunn and Warner Brothers is trying to phase out some of the old stuff here. This is, in my mind, part of the old stuff. So if this movie does well, this could cause a little bit of a complication for Gunn.
right, but as far as we know, this might be the last of the old stuff. I mean, I know
Mhm.
people still talk about Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. I don't know if we're ever going to see that or when we're going to see that, considering he still wants Momoa to be Lobo. So it's
Mhm.
like, do we still show him as Aquaman in a movie at this point? I don't know. You
Well,
know,
also, here's the other side of it too. The backlash towards Amber Heard is far greater than the backlash, I think, to Ezra Miller.
mm.
You know,
Oh,
because a lot of
DC's got
dudes
so
came
much
out of the
going.
woodwork and be like, "I went through this too."
Right.
Not as many women I think who go to see a movie like Flash will be like, this is also what I think hurts the whole Ezra Miller situation is he didn't really do any of that stuff to basically anybody of name recognition. Amber Heard did it to Johnny freaking Depp, and so as a result, hashtag justice for Johnny. There was no hashtag for insert girl's name here, whatever their names are, because we don't know.
At
You
this
know?
point, DC just gets like all the bad press. Even Zaslav over the
Yeah,
weekend getting booed at the commencement speech at college.
dude.
DC
Well,
Warner Brothers can't catch a break.
we almost wonder if the writer strike is going to hurt that a little bit too. I don't know. Find out. But
We'll
okay,
see.
we both agree cash, but not as strong as the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did I miss? I skipped past this one by mistake here, but
Ugh.
yeah, Transformers: Rise of the Beast. This is now the seventh movie, I guess we can argue, in the franchise as a whole. Reboot necessary. Ties off the Beast Wars series in the 1990s. Comes in at a relatively reasonable 200 million, but this at this point is now 16 years, I believe, since the original Michael Bay movie from 2007. So Peter Cullen is just phoning this in for a paycheck now. You hear him in there. He's getting older. It's easy health insurance. I'll say that. But I think I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, I'm going to give you the last movie, by the way. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say trash on this one. I don't think it's going to do well. I don't think it's going to recoup 400 million.
I'm torn on this because on the one hand, yes, you're getting the Maximals, which is
Mhm.
for a lot of people that is their generational Transformers. You know, it's like we're now getting away from the 80s kids and we're trying to get to the 90s kids who grew up with this, with the CGI animated show,
Mhm.
which to its credit was far better than it had any reason to be.
My
And
mom watched it. Go figure.
yeah, and as far as like who they've gotten for the like Ron Perlman
Yeah.
as um Optimus Primal,
Mhm.
that's supreme casting. Like I would have been fine if this was a movie that was just the Maximals, just in the same way the television show was just the
Mhm.
Maximals. You know, we showed that with Bumblebee, you can
Yes.
do something that is a movie apart from the franchise and pretty much stand alone, and people will really gleam onto it. Yes, it didn't make the money that the other Transformers movies prior to it made, but that's because you wore out the good nature of the brand name.
It was also a smaller film too.
Right. Which, like I said, if you just focused on the Maximals, fine, you could have done that. The problem with this is, as for great as Beast Wars was, you're not really bringing in any Predacons. You're not bringing any of those iconic
Mhm.
characters on the bad guy side. It's pretty much just a handful of the originals. There's no Rat Trap, which I'm very upset about. And it's still got Pete Davidson in it, man. I can't abide. I can't. I'm sorry. Look, Liza Koshy as RC all day. Perfect. I like her look more in this movie than in
Mhm.
the what was it, the third one? I think they brought her in. No, it would have been I think even the second one with Skids and Mudflap. I think she was part of
Yeah,
that too.
where Shia LaBeouf went to robot heaven.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
That's when the franchise the member berries worked really well in the first movie, and then the second one was like, I mean, the Mark Wahlberg ones weren't terrible. Weren't great, but
yes,
weren't
they
terrible.
did, really.
You know, I
Especially
mean,
Age of Extinction, like,
yeah,
because that was the first time that you were saying, like, "Oh my god, we're getting the Dinobots," and we got them for, like,
8.5 seconds.
yeah, at the end of the movie, and they didn't even talk.
Yeah.
You're gonna give me a Grimlock, and you're not gonna give me somebody that's like, "Grimlock want to fight,"
You
It's
know,
like, you don't give me any of that.
can I give you a stupid fact? The
Sure.
voice of Grimlock was also the voice of Titus's dad in Final Fantasy X. Jet.
Okay, yeah, I can hear
Yeah,
it. I can see it.
yeah. It's just stupid random thing. I mean, John
But
DiMaggio was in that
but
was in
yeah,
that game
my
too.
little
But
geek heart was just like
mm,
I sunk at that, so I don't know if the Transformers brand has enough goodwill anymore,
me
really.
Grimlock. I had a Grimlock as a kid too.
Yeah,
Freaking
it's
love
one
my
of those things
Grimlock.
where it's like when you've already taken characters so far in the mythos, whether it be Grimlock, whether it be Wheelie, whether it be any of the one, you killed off Jazz in the first movie, man. I
Yeah,
mean, come on, and
he
then you're
killed
gonna
off
go
the older
ahead
brother
and
from
bring
Family
in
Matters,
Mirage,
and
who
he's like,
looks
"What are you
like
doing, man?
Jazz
You're
should
killing the
have
black
looked
guy
in
off."
like the '80s, '90s. No, no, and then poison Pete Davidson. No. Okay, yeah,
Dude,
no, trash,
Pete
trash,
Davidson.
trash. I can't say it enough.
Pete Davidson is everywhere nowadays in every freaking thing. He's got the show on Peacock. He's got the movies, the Taco Bell commercial. You know,
I stopped going to Taco Bell for breakfast in the mornings because of that nonsense. No,
I don't have
man,
a Taco
enough.
Bell close enough to me. Otherwise, I probably would go still. But
Let the
yeah, I mean,
franchise die, give it a decade, then reboot it again.
dude, he trashed the snot out of his set to the tune of almost over $500,000, and he had to pay for it because he had a meltdown. Which okay, I kind of get that, understand that, and respect that. But yet, because he was producer of the show, it was that came out of his pocket.
Michelle
So,
Yao deserves better than to be involved in this.
I mean, like I said, in this case, this one was $200 million, which means it would have to do four. Do you think it can? Because I'm going to say no.
Well, you're saying $200 just on the film budget alone, right?
Yeah, but you got to double it for marketing and advertising and all that kind of stuff. And
Exactly.
so you're looking at 400 million. Will it make that?
Will it cover that? Possibly. Will it be enough to warrant it being a blockbuster hit that it will actually bring Paramount money back? No.
Yeah. You know,
No,
do you
I
think?
think
Here's the
that
thing.
ship has finally sailed.
Let me ask you this question: if the movie does struggle and doesn't clear 400 million and becomes a loss, do they do a Beast Wars 2?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, you're already bringing in Unicron. That's something
Mm.
that should have been saved for the movie. You shouldn't even have played that in the trailer. And nothing against Scourge, but Scourge doesn't have like the throwing power to be like, "Oh,
Hmm.
I'll come back and get you again." Like no, 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 no. You're gonna have to redo Megatron, and it better be the Tyrannosaurus Rex Megatron this time,
Hmm.
and don't ever go with the Beast Wars. If you don't bring in any more animals to actually have some sort of continuation for the series, I don't care if this was the '90s or not. If you don't bring in any new, fresh characters, and you keep trying to rely on Gen One, not happening.
Well, like I said, in this case here, I mean, what worked in 2007, and I'll be honest, I actually half wept in 2007 when I heard Peter Cullen's voice because that brought back so much from the mid 80s. I mean, I collected them. I knew how to basically transform them without the instructions. So many of them.
Yeah, it was
It meant
good.
so. And Michael Bay, one of the smartest moves Michael Bay has ever done in his career is he brought in Peter Cullen, and as he put it, he brought in Peter Cullen to center the franchise and be like this, and he nailed that. But by the fourth and fifth movie, you can tell he was just in it for the paycheck, and Cullen's, you know, uh, passion and desire were gone, and now we're on seven. So it's just like, paycheck, health insurance, he probably does it from like Source Connect, which means he probably records the entire thing out of his house, in his studio, in the back room. He never even has to leave the house. And he just does. Source Connect is the way that a lot of them do it nowadays. But big blockbuster movie, he can do it in his underwear, sitting in his house.
The poster's right there. Like,
Yeah. I was there in 86 when they killed everybody. I was 10. We
oh,
were
when they
so
went ahead
jacked
and
to see
just
that
like
movie.
when
Stan Bush's music is just blasting, and we are fired up and we're
oh,
excited.
when they're
And what
on
the
the
hell?
ship and Megatron comes
Everybody
on and
dies.
they take out Cliff Jumper and everything, and
Oh
then
my god,
Ironhide tries to just like hold on to Megatron's leg and just like
dude!
just
One
like
shall
down it
stand, one
into him.
shall fall. What happens? Optimus Prime dies. And they brought him back later on in the series and everything like that. But oh,
But
dude,
that's how you do a Transformers movie.
we were 10. And that's the reason why they didn't kill off Duke in the GI Joe movie because of the backlash. So he gets stabbed directly through the heart and goes into a coma.
Yeah.
The blood comes out. You see it right through the heart. It's like, and he's like, I believe in you. You're my team. You're my family. He's gone into a coma. It's like,
But yeah,
dude,
like
you're in the
like I'm
coma,
saying,
Terry. How
like the
would you know that?
villain wise, there's no Megatron, there's no Dinobot, the
Yeah.
Scorponok, which I don't
Sorry,
think was
we
really
ran through
killed off
here.
in the first movie. He should have still be alive somewhere on Earth.
Yeah.
So why not do a Scorponok? Why not do a Tarantulas? Black Arachnia, who's like a
Mhm.
fan favorite. Like, there's so many characters you could have pulled from. I'm happy to see Rhinox. I'm happy to see Cheetor. But we've seen very little and heard very little from the characters that we should be hearing from.
Mm. And
So hopefully they're not just there to sell more toys.
well, that's what it's all about, though, isn't it?
Which
But it's funny. We haven't. Have we seen Rodimus Prime in any of this yet?
one?
Rodimus Prime.
Oh, Hot Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He was the French sounding one in the last night.
Okay.
I think
Oh,
he was
okay.
voiced by Omar Sy.
To be fair, I never saw it last night because
Yeah, no, no,
it, it,
no.
it involved
And they
King
gave him some
Arthur.
sort
So
of like
really,
weird time stopping
mhm.
gadget weapon. I'm like, okay, but does he get the matrix of leadership?
Mhm.
Does he turn into Rodimus? No, no,
He
no,
gives it
no.
away
Bother
in
with
the
that.
series in season 3.
No, instead we have to have Optimus go all like psycho and hypnotized by Quintessa.
Mm.
Next movie.
Okay, the last one. I'm going to let you roll first. Really want to go first on this one. I'm going to let you go first, sir.
Oh,
Okay, I think we're going to be pretty close on this one. This movie,
okay.
by the way,
Indiana
again,
Jones and the.
cash or trash, it has
Mm.
to basically make back its full budget. The budget right now is $295 million. Multiply that crap by 2 in order to break even, and you are requiring 590 million just to get to zero. Go, sir.
Oh, this is tough because on the one hand, for the majority of the franchise, Indiana Jones has just been iconic. You will look at the first 3 films. There's hardly anything that you can say negatively about them. On the other hand, the last time they tried to do something with an elderly Harrison Ford, it didn't work out so well, and there was aliens.
Yes.
And now we're dealing with a much older Indiana Jones, who is apparently still going to be trying to do as much action as possible, which is going to seem very unrealistic for someone as elderly as Ford being.
78, I believe.
But now we're also dealing with the potential of a time travel aspect, where they're going to de-age him for certain scenes. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I like her, I really do. Um, I don't know if she's going to be taking on the bulk of the action, if that's the case. Kind of like in the same way that Shia LaBeouf should have done as Mutt. But it's one of those movies where it's like, I see how they're trying to get back to the old ways with Indy and trying to like really get that more Last Crusade sort of feel to the cinematography and to the action. And I will go see it. Don't think I won't. But for that kind of a price tag, I don't know if the market is there for it. I mean, Disney will put out enough to actually put in promotion and everything to do what they can for this film. But I don't see it being a blockbuster. I see it just edging as best as possible.
So you think it could break even?
I think it could. I think it could. Because again, it's one of those franchises that has international appeal. Now, yeah, I
Mhm.
say what I said about like Transformers, but even I know it'll make enough money overseas because that's where the Transformers does its best. This I have to believe is in the same category simply because this has always been an international jaunt for
Hmm.
movie fans. So, depending on where everything takes place, I know a good portion of it happens in like America and the New York City and everything, but this has always been the movie where you go, hey, they're globetrotting. There's the little plane going to town after town, city after city, country after country. This is adventure at its truest form. I just don't know if the market is there for it anymore. I mean, if that was the case, I think Uncharted would have made a lot more money than it did, but it didn't. And maybe you could say that was like leaning too much on the idea of the video game itself.
Mhm.
But this, I just don't know if it's enough.
It sounds like your heart is hurting right now, even
It
saying
is. It really is. Because I thought we were like, okay, you know what? He got married in the last movie. He had the kid. Even though they didn't talk about it, and yeah, he tried to grab the hat, and it's like, not yet, kid, and he puts it on himself, but it's one of those movies where it's kind of like, why are you even bothering to make this? The other movies that we talked about, there was a purpose to
Mhm.
why they were being made, but I don't understand why they had to make one more with Harrison Ford. The man already almost died once in a plane, and here you have him doing all this other stuff.
For a Disney franchise, let's not forget.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you killed him off already in Star Wars, and, you know,
Uh,
that's the thing. If Harrison Ford doesn't die in some way in this film, if Indy doesn't die, then I don't know what they're doing this for.
well, anything else before I go into my very?
No, no, I'm already sad enough.
I'm going to be blunt. This is trash. This is not going to. This is going to be a laughable, painful box office bomb at the end of it, and it will be the sad end to what used to be a fantastic franchise. You know, this time the fridge doesn't save him. Okay, let me say this. Let me back up on this. As an 8-year-old kid, I wanted to be short round because I mean, I was an 8-year-old kid when that movie came out. Okay, Dr. Jones, hang on to your potatoes. We love that. Molaram Sularam still freaks out my wife. If I ever say it. It's kind of funny. We grew up on that franchise. When they rode off in the sunset, him, Denham Elliott, and John Rhys Davies and also Sean Connery. That was meant to be the end of the series, end with the trilogy, and what was probably the greatest third movie in a franchise in cinematic history. I think that argument can be made. They came out with the fourth one. All right, fine. They poked fun at his age in that one in a couple of different ways. And in retrospect, was not a terrible movie. It wasn't great. It probably could make the argument could be made a worse one of the four, but I found that Karen Allen bringing her back was fantastic. I loved her, in the first one. I loved her spunk. I loved her heart. I loved her persona. And it was a good end to have them get married at the end of it. I liked that. It wasn't a great movie, but I liked the end there. In this one, they're divorced. The reason that she and Shia LaBeouf's character Mutt are not in the movie is because they are divorced at this point. So that is why he is single, lonely, and sullen. Yeah, I saw the reaction on your face as soon as I said that too. That just stabbed you further in the heart, didn't it? Yes. That is why basically they're not in it, because they got divorced at some point, which makes him even more of a douchebag father type, because of all this stuff that went south. In this case, the reason that whatever her name is in it is she is the goddaughter that they have not seen, and he hasn't seen in 18 years. So they're reconnecting on this. This movie, he's 78 years old. I don't know why he agreed to this. It's not like he needs the health insurance for SAG. He just did an entire season of Shrinking with Jason Segel. The Bill Lawrence series with Brett Goldstein, the guys who did Ted Lasso. They did also another series on Apple TV. He is very likely up for an Emmy nomination for Best Supporting Actor for Shrinking. I watched him. He was a delight on that show because he was just playing Harrison Ford. So it's not like he really needed the money at this point or anything, or pull a Christopher Lloyd on Mandalorian thing. He was fine. So he decided to do this in some regard, in some capacity. They're going to do the time travel stuff. The other part of it, reason I believe it's going to fail, is simply because, and I'm going to pull this up right now. That is the current critic review on the movie right now. 47% based on 36 reviews.
30? How is that 36 reviews already out?
Advanced screenings. Believe it or not, actually,
But,
some people have gotten advanced screenings already.
right, but how is it already that there's not like they're allowing reviews a month early?
I don't know, but yeah, I mean, if you see, it's a lot of rough. The adventure, despite stripping itself, feels stimulated and forced. A disappointing facsimile to the much better Indiana Jones films that preceded it. James Mangold stepping in for Steven Spielberg brings the character's adventures to satisfying close. Okay, that was 4 out of 5. It's pretty goofy and laborious over its 142-minute runtime. But a lot of the reviews here are not friendly for this.
Yeah, and this isn't like the last time we were on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, where it seemed like it was pretty much just a European
Well, that
crowd
was
or a British
Cleopatra we
crowd.
talked about last week.
There is some locals on there.
But yeah, no, but in this case here, and this is still early. So the original plan, by my understanding, was this was supposed to be a TV, ultimately lead to a TV spinoff regarding Goddaughter, whatever her name is, where she was going to get her own Disney Plus series as the new Indiana Jones. Clearly,
Which I don't think would have really worked, to be honest. I mean, they already just had the National Treasure TV series. Got canceled for one season.
That died
Nobody
too, yeah.
watched it.
But this was the game plan originally from one of the Bobs. And this movie, like I said, is $295 million at this point because of all the reshoots that went into it, the CGI work, and everything that went into it. I think people will probably praise Harrison Ford for this, and her, whatever her name is. Supposedly, Salah's random cameo is completely unnecessary. There's no real point to that.
Just to show that some of the actors are still alive, I guess.
I guess probably, yeah. I mean, he turned down the role in the fourth movie. So that Ray Winstone character was, I think, originally supposed to be Salah. But you look at this point, you have had one movie in 34 years, and you had 2007, which in and of itself is 16 years ago. So we talked earlier about Transformers. Transformers has had like 5 movies between now and then. This one, nothing. And because of the fact that he is now a sullen, broken down old man who is apparently getting bossed around a lot by this character, whatever her name is, it's a lot of even the critics aren't happy with it, just because of the fact that a lot of them grew up on this franchise as well. People like me, I mean, Last Crusade was one of the greatest movies we ever saw. I saw that movie in theaters. That was a perfect send off in so many ways. And I remember in the days following, me and my father talked about what, how the ending could have been. And he was always like, Sean Connery could have stayed back, with the guy from the Crusades. And I'm like, no, he could not do that. And we went back and forth on this in a fun way. But it brought back so many memories. And now look at it. I mean, the dude's 78. And what isn't helping, and this is my last bit on this, is the fact that James Mangold is going after critic reviews right now. And he's going after YouTubers. He's trolling them directly for criticizing. He's doing that thing where they trash the bad reviews. And that's not going to help because, like I said, they will unite. YouTubers will unite in protecting their own. Sorry. I feel like I hurt you, man. I'm sorry.
Why did they get divorced? They were a perfect couple.
I both want to
Why?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Ryan. But this one hurts me too.
My heart.
I know, dude. I had the book. I used to play the Indiana Jones arcade game, the Temple of Doom arcade game at Ground Round when I was a kid. And I had the Game Gear game for Last Crusade. I had the Atari game, which was just buy back my parents' house. The Atari game,
my birthday's tomorrow. I don't need this pain.
The original Raiders, the Atari game, I had it. I beat it. And then to end the franchise like this, it's going to hurt Disney's legacy even further, just like they did with Star Wars. Just like they've done kind of with Marvel. They're taking these IP Willow. They're taking these internet.
Yeah, the Lucasfilm side of everything is really getting the pooch screwed on this.
Yeah, these intellectual properties are being milked for quick, immediate cash. And it's not just that. It's even stuff like, Little Mermaid is apparently getting dumped on right now, for lacking the magic of the original. Halle Bailey, they're giving credit to and saying she's done well. The acting is good, but it's just bland, and that's unfortunately Disney's thing.
Well, yeah, we all knew that was probably going to be like a scene-for-scene remake. I mean, that's pretty much how the remakes have been. You either go too far or you stay too safe, but...
The chef apparently is not in the movie, from my understanding. I could be wrong, though.
Well, that's completely fine. I mean, that was more done for fun anyway. I mean, I don't think
Renee
anyone's going to
Auberjonois,
see a psycho chef cutting up all the fish.
Years before Odo.
But...
I heard something. But yeah, I unequivocally, in this case, this is going to be trash.
It's just, I don't see why Disney is doing this, especially when Disney is already going to have a movie out, not just this week, but they have another movie out earlier in the month. They have Elemental coming out in the same month. So they're hurting themselves. They are literally putting out so much that they're going to cannibalize their own, take-in.
Oh, yeah. It's quick cash now to keep the stock prices up.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it won't win the weekend, but... Oh, boy, Disney,
it might
come
win
on.
Listen, it might... I remember looking at it. Yeah, I believe it will. Just because I don't believe there's any real competition going on that weekend. And it's
the only other thing that weekend would be Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken from DreamWorks.
Kind of don't think those two are going to conflict much.
Well, there is something to be said for counter programming. We've seen where it can be successful, and I'm guessing the budget on that thing is probably way less than the budget for Dial of Destiny. So that actually, there may be a fun turnaround where that might win the weekend with families. More so than this movie.
Could you imagine? Oh, dude.
Well, here's the thing. DreamWorks is a studio you can rely on, for sure. And yes, it's not any sequel to any of their other franchises like Kung Fu Panda or How to Train Your Dragon, but they have the track record.
Exactly.
And this is something that's going to speak to a younger audience, which is probably going to be young girls having their families bring them to it. And I do have to say, the funny idea that this is a Kraken who has to take on a beautiful mermaid because everyone loves mermaids, but they're really evil. That is a little tongue in cheek to Disney. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. That is an interesting premise. I can see why they're only putting it like a month away from the Little Mermaid release and not like right after, because that would almost be a little bit too much. But marketing wise, that is some good timing. And it's very possible that if you get enough families to go see that movie, which is honestly probably going to be like 30 minutes shorter, if not an hour shorter than Indiana Jones, you could see an upset.
Yeah. Indiana Jones came. I just read that came in at 140, 2 hours 22.
Yeah.
You know,
Whereas Ruby Gillman, I can only imagine it's going to be like an hour and a half.
I was gonna say 89 minutes would be my guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So
but
yeah, it depends on the audience.
well, I think the problem with the Indiana Jones 5 is the fact that the people would be most interested in seeing it are people like me who don't usually go to the theaters much anymore. Would be like, wait for it to hit, hit Disney or HBO.
Right.
You
It's
know.
going to be like either the hardcore movie people or it's going to be the fans of Indiana Jones like that. I don't see the younger audience all the world round going to this in flock.
Hmm.
But if you go get a young enough audience, if you get like those pre-tween kids, and then the mother or someone has to come with them or something like that, yeah, you're absolutely getting like more people for your money at a much faster return of like get in the theater, get out the theater.
Hmm.
So who
Yeah.
knows?
I don't know, but this, like I said, this is a sad end to a franchise, which we haven't even talked about Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and the impact of that. So,
I mean,
yeah.
there's still going to be like other movies coming out over the week, over the time of the month. You're gonna the Boogeyman if you want something that's horror
Mhm.
based, which I don't think there's any other horror, depending on your own perspective on Indiana Jones or scary movies.
Roller Rom scared the snot out of us as a kid, though.
Yeah, you have
The first
Elemental, like
day.
I said, which is also going to be good for kids, and that's coming out on the 16th, the same weekend as The Flash. You got Asteroid City,
Hmm.
which is the another quirky sort of like what's his face uh why can't I remember his name?
I don't know. I'm not going to help you with
Great
this one so
Grand
far.
Budapest Hotel, Steve Zissou,
Aquatic.
Moonrise
Oh,
Kingdom,
what's that? What's the last one?
Moonrise Kingdom,
Well, Steve's is.
The French Dispatch.
Owen
God,
Wilson, Willem Dafoe, Jeff Goldblum, Noah
why am I
Baumbach,
blanking on the filmmaker's name? He's the one that makes all of his movies roughly look the same way.
Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson.
There
Oh
we
yeah,
go. Well,
yeah.
yes, that's the new Wes Anderson. So I mean, there may be enough movie people for that, sure. And then obviously there's that No Hard Feelings with Jennifer,
Hmm.
and that looks funny because that just looks like a return to like kind of like pervy adult kind of comedy with a heart, which you don't see in theaters more often. You see them on like Netflix, but
Hmm.
it's Jennifer. I mean, she looks hot enough. People will go for that alone. So there's enough alternate viewing for these other movies that there may be some people that are just like, you know what, I'm not spending that much time at the theater. Let me see one of these other things that is shorter, that may fly under the radar, that may be of better quality without all the money.
Hmm.
And that's really the problem. Some are supposed to be for blockbusters, but you know what? When the blockbusters look lackluster, which that could have been the other title,
That lackluster
blockbuster or
blockbuster. Oh
lackluster,
yeah, it would work too. Hey.
then there are alternatives that also look decent. It's not
Hmm.
like the only other movies coming out are like small independent dramas about like an old lady playing dominoes or something. I don't know.
Well, you have that one movie with Jane Fonda, Lily Tomlin, Sally Field, and Mario Steenburgen.
The book club, yeah.
Yeah, which I am completely convinced is not actually made for the audience. It is purely made so those people can hang out together.
Probably. I mean,
I
it's
mean,
the same
I
thing
think
as
that's such a
80 for
tight group that
Brady.
are just like, we're gonna keep making these movies for us. We don't even care if
Yeah.
they make money. It's like
Yeah,
when
how many
people
football fans went to go see 80 for Brady? I'm betting you very few, but
prob-
it was because you wanted them to hang out.
yeah, but in this case, like I said, Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda did 7 Years of Grace and Frankie, and they were so believably tight. And I can imagine Sally Field and Mary Steenburgen, blending in with that group very, very easily.
Mhm.
And I saw something on, I think it was Film Threat. They're like,
Well,
"What was
no,
this movie
Diane
made for?" It's
Keaton's
like
on this
it's
one.
them.
Yeah.
um, by the way,
You know,
speaking of Disney,
Sally Field was in 80 for Brady. Diane Keaton's part of the book club with Candace Bergen.
Candace, yeah, okay. Um,
See, I know more that going on than some of the other blockbuster ones. My
uh,
mom will probably see that. I know that much.
well, speaking of Disney and problems that exist, I don't know if you heard about this one, but the Star Wars hotel has closed up shop at a $300 million loss.
Yeah, no more Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah,
Which,
um,
I mean, for $6,000 for roughly 2 days of a stay someplace.
yeah, 2,400 a night was upwards of six.
Yeah, that's you kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
There was a way you could have done something like this and really like expanded it to the point where it was just maybe a standard hotel experience, but
hmm
still had a little bit more thrill. You didn't need to make it a $6,000 create your own story with dinner and a movie sort of
and
feel.
and
You
didn't even
know,
have the legacy characters. So there was no Darth Vader, there was no Luke Skywalker. It was just some random place.
it's one of those things that only the highest of nerdom would have been able to go to. But and if anyone can tell you, nerds will spend their money on something like this once. You're not getting a lot of repeat traffic on a place like this.
You know what's funny though? This blows my mind in some ways. Under normal circumstances, this wouldn't be that bad, but on Google reviews, there's 277 reviews of the Star Wars Hotel. It came in at a 4.3 rating. Now, 4.3 in general isn't that bad, but for the amount of money being spent, anything less than 4.9 is dangerous.
Well, because it's a very niche experience. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, a lot of the complaints were the fact that how expensive it was to get other things too. So
yeah,
6,000 for
you
the
don't get
hotel,
a
yeah.
lot of stuff included except the storyline.
Mm,
Which, fine, if you want to go ahead and live out your, LARPing experience in the Star Wars universe, then yeah, you can do that. But if you want to eat
yeah,
and shop,
and you got to buy stuff because the kids are going to want it.
yeah,
Mm,
then, like I said, this is an upper echelon experience.
yeah.
Which, not to say Disney doesn't have things like that. Certainly, their backstage tours and everything. A lot of the more specialty rooms and experiences in the Magic Kingdom. You have stuff for that,
hmm
but those are things where you can go ahead and you can still experience the park as a whole. And if you happen to have the money, you can have this little thing added on.
Yeah.
This is the whole damn thing.
I mean, here's a 2.5 rating that came from 4 months ago. It was empty and boring, nothing much to do except watch an hour of bad acting and catfights. Plus, Gaia doesn't know how to sing. It's just painful to watch and extremely cringe. So much wasted potential on the ideas of a Star Wars hotel. But
Right.
a lot of the complaints are like it's overpriced, it's boring. You know, so
Ve- See, Kyle has a very cool thing, but they
yeah.
pandered to the ultra rich and alienated everybody else. So while waiting for that 2,500 money bag, they ended up getting zero instead, and two of the three people at 500 each.
hmm
Yeah,
And then
it's
yeah.
it's a lot for like because that's the thing. If this was like maybe just
Okay,
something
food
for
was
a
part of it.
couple,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
fair.
If this was something for like a husband and wife sort of thing, and they wanted to do this for like their honeymoon or something like that, I could see that. Not for a family of four.
Yeah.
Not for your traditional Disney hotel guests.
And apparently, from my understanding, is there's no flexibility in your schedule. Everything is timed out. So 3:30 you have to be here. 6:45 you have to be here.
Yeah.
So everything it's almost like a cruise line where you
Well,
have to be.
that's the way they played it. It's like you
Mm,
stayed in the thing for 2 days, and then just as you're getting shipped out, the new people are getting shipped in. It's like
mm.
First of all, I can only imagine how the maintenance of that place would come to if you had to go ahead and turn it over that quickly.
I imagine. I mean, I don't know if you ever did this, but did you ever do the behind the scenes tour at Disney?
No, no, no. Well, I come from a poor, modest family.
I did years ago. I look, I don't even know how I got it. Well, long story in itself, but I got to see what it's like behind the scenes, how they put everything together, how they clean everything. The entire system is amazing, and I was blown away by it, especially with the fact that when it was all said and done, after like 6 hours of seeing how everything's done, the tour guide said, "We're about to watch the parade. Tell me if you're still going to feel the magic." And by God, you still did, and more so, because you got to see all the work that went behind the scenes. What happens if a dress gets torn, if there's garbage on the ground. It's this entire underground city that just spreads out, to every aspect of it. I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful setup, and it was really impressive. So I'd imagine, to their credit, the hotel probably had a very similar setup there, where all of the actors, otherwise known as employees, had their systems in place to be able to make sure that nothing was out of place ever, especially for that price tag.
Right, but I think there probably is something to be said for the difference in size. I mean, what you're
Mhm.
talking about is something that's a whole theme park large that has had years to fine tune the way everything
Fair.
works, give, ebb, and flow, and everything. Whether a new ride is taken in, an old ride's taken down, whatever have you, they have a system in place for that size.
Hmm.
This is a much more confined environment that is really trying to be true to the story that it's telling and
Hmm.
that it wants people to experience. That does make things harder, though. And I'm sure there were probably enough slip ups.
Probably, but you don't necessarily know about them, and sometimes actually maybe even the people who paid for it don't know either, because you just sneak it in behind the scenes. I don't know what the training was involved to be able to work at something like this, but I'd imagine it's extremely extensive. Probably
Right.
have to start at Disney World first and then move over to this.
The thing is, they would have actually been better off just taking one of their Disney cruise ships
Mm,
and formatting it for an entire Star Wars experience. Then you'd have the multiple decks, you'd have things on the outside, you'd have things for the kids, you have theaters, you'd have all that space, which is probably a lot bigger than whatever this was.
but again, I mean, the weird thing about it, from what I'm hearing, is like I said, there's no legacy characters. There's also no John Williams music. How weird is that?
How
That
do
they
you do
would.
Star Wars without John Williams music?
That's what
They
I'm
play it
asking
all
you.
the time in the theme park.
That's what I'm asking you. So
It's not like they don't have the licensing.
yeah, I don't know.
Um, this goes right back to the Indiana Jones. I don't know what Disney has really thought about doing with the Lucasfilm stuff, but so far, a lot of the Lucasfilm stuff that they've put out has been very hit or miss. There is
Yeah,
no middle ground.
yeah, and obviously losing all the Disney Plus subscribers isn't helping much either. Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, they have to recoup their losses. They're already combining with Hulu to make one formatted experience online rather than having two separate things. I don't know what their plan is with ESPN Plus yet.
I was gonna
I'm
say
not
three if
that.
you include ESPN Plus.
I mean, I could subscribe to that for like a cent a month based upon what I'm paying because of the whole bundle, but I haven't never done it because I've never needed it.
I never use ESPN Plus. I mean, I have it because of the entire like Hulu Disney Plus package, but
Right.
and what Discover or National Geographic will also, um, but yeah, I never use ESPN Plus. I mean, occasionally if I'm ever on ESPN, the website, I get free access to the extended articles.
Oh, but
But
Disney, Disney, Disney,
yeah,
man.
eh,
It reminds me just how I felt last year when I went. It's like it's it's just such wasted potential, kind of like what Kyle posted in regards to that. It, you have all the time and space in the world to work with, and you pretty much go ahead and make something that could cater to a fan, but doesn't actually cater to the fans, plural, multiple, everybody. And you've done it before. You've done it with your theme parks. I don't
yeah.
know why you couldn't just build a regular hotel and make it themed. Have enough people coming in and out. Make it more of like a, you know, if I was to design a Star Wars hotel, I would have to make it look something like Coruscant.
Mhm.
You know,
That would be a
bustling
smart move, yeah.
cityscape sort of thing. Maybe
What,
there
not
are some
Tatooine?
rooms that you go into and you just happen to be transported to another planet, you know? Make like an Endor wing where all the rooms are more like have an Animal Kingdom sort of vibe with the trees and everything. Make another room that's maybe a little bit more Naboo, where you have like the Gungans and more of a
Mhm.
water theme. You know, there's a lot you could have played around with.
Well, they tried to push a lot of the sequel stuff there. You can see by the stormtroopers out look that they were trying to push their own their Disney Star Wars and not the earlier stuff. Which is probably why, which may be part of the reason why there is no Darth Vader, there is no Luke. There's none of that in there because they're trying to focus so much on the other stuff and their own stuff.
Yeah, but not everybody wants to go ahead and hang out with Kylo Ren and his daddy issues. They want to hang out with Darth and they want to hear that breathing while
Mm.
they're having a burrito.
Episode 7, you're a monster. Episode 8, you're a monster. Episode 9, we're gonna make out now. Mm.
No, no, no.
Got
It's
it.
like, you're a monster. You're a monster. You a monster.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. And I was like, oh my god, this movie. Like I said, it was the only Star Wars movie I'd ever seen since Episode 2 in an early screening, where the fans didn't do anything. There was no applause, no standing up. Last Jedi even got that. In Episode 9, people just got up and left. It was like, wow, that was weird shit, man. So,
Did they even have a Mandalorian? They should have at least had a Mandalorian. Or did that not play into the storyline because that was more
I
before
don't know. I mean,
times?
that is Disney based, but I don't know. Mandalorian has its own problems anyway. Nobody cares about that no more. But,
Oh boy.
all right, figure we'll move on to the
This
final
has been
topic.
a sad episode. I'm a sad panda.
It ain't gonna get much better, sir.
Why? Ah, damn it.
I know. We got to give a tribute here to both Ray Stevenson and ultimately Jim Brown too. You mentioned this, so and I'm in agreement
I
on it.
did. And I have to mention Ray Stevenson. You know, he is an Irish boy. He's Northern Irish, but he's still an Irish boy.
Hmm. Just finished up
Unfortunately,
Ahsoka too.
died surprisingly yesterday. News is just
59.
breaking today about it. I mean, when you think about actors who have kind of like been franchise actors, I
Hmm.
mean, he's so notable for his stuff on Rome on HBO. Obviously, his turns as the Punisher and Volstagg in Marvel properties.
Hmm.
He had his time with Star Wars, being part of that. I think, yeah, it was Rebels.
Yeah, well, it's the
He was
Ahsoka
in.
series he just finished up also.
Yeah, he's going to be in the Ahsoka series, but that's because based on a character that I think he played in Star Wars Rebels because they've
Hmm.
been trying to like bring all the Rebel stuff over.
Well, it is a direct sequel to Rebels.
Yeah, yeah, that's
That's already been
why.
established here
But
because they're trying to find Ezra Bridger. So.
but yeah, Ray Stevenson's just like he's that actor that maybe the name doesn't ring, but when you look at the face, when you look at the
Yeah.
grizzledness,
Yeah. Three
you
episodes, well,
see it, and you remember it, you
two plus
recognize it.
episodes of movies of Thor too.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean he's had a very good career. I mean, this is a guy that started in the '90s over in
Hmm.
like English television and Irish television and stuff like that. Didn't really break through until Rome, I would
Hmm.
say, was probably his big thing. I didn't really say I could recognize him until Punisher Warzone, which
Hmm.
by all accounts, the best thematic Punisher movie we've gotten. Sorry, Thomas Jane. Sorry, Dolph Lundgren. He just embodied that character so much.
Hmm.
He was grizzled. Like everything about Ray Stevenson always says grizzled. You know, he's a guy that's seen that. He's been through it. And you know what? He'll
Unfortunately, I
have
picked
a
that
beer
picture
with
while I was
you
with
after he shoots up some more people.
you.
You know, that's his persona. He's charming, sure, but oh, he was just like a guy. Like if Pedro Pascal wasn't as popular as he is now,
Mm,
I could say Ray Stevenson doing stuff for The Last of Us or in that same vein.
yeah, I could say it.
Yeah.
Um, on the other side of the fence, also a name that some of the more Gen Xers would recognize in this case, Jim Brown. Both the time with Cleveland, also playing, I believe, Dirty Dozen as well. So there's a long career on his side of the fence. On top of that,
Yeah, one of the few you could say sports stars that really transcended the game and was able to
Mhm.
do more beyond his time on the teams. You know,
Well, NFL too, which has been mostly difficult in a lot of ways. Strahan is an example. OJ would have been an example.
well, I mean, people like to see him get beat up. I'd say that probably
Mhm.
still ticks now,
Aaron Rodgers will be. Tom Brady's trying.
but no,
But
Jim Brown was definitely like he was one of those dudes that was like again, he was a bruiser type. He was a
mhm.
a big beefy guy type. I can remember him being in Mars Attacks,
Yes,
being
that's
one of the few
right.
survivors of Mars Attacks. It's like, come on, that says something. Though what I will always remember him as, and this isn't necessarily aging myself because this is just a fun movie. Him playing a slammer next to Isaac Hayes' hammer,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yep.
Oh, I love that. Like his whole thing with like his big toes, like his bunions. He's like he can't move like he used to, and like he just brings out this big old gun and just like bah, and then, oh, I love that movie. And I love him in it. It's like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, compared to Ray Stevenson, who only died at like what 58, surprisingly.
Yeah.
Um, Jim Brown into his 70s, right?
70s or 80s, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, he had a good life, he had a good career. It's always nice
Yeah,
when
87.
someone. I think it's always nice when someone does pass, and there really isn't anything bad you can say about any
Mhm.
of the work that he did. I can't say that he really was a terrible actor. He wasn't. He played the
Mhm.
roles that he was given to the best of his ability, but they made sure that they gave him abilities and roles and stuff that fit his character. It's kind of
Mhm.
reminiscent of Dave Batista. Dave Batista is a great actor as long as you give him the right roles. Jim Brown, in the same sense,
Mhm.
he smashed it every time he was given something. He wasn't given Shakespeare, but he still did his best.
He did, yeah, basically that action type, like I said, Dirty Dozen being a prime example of that, where you see just him playing to his strengths, a much more action oriented of like Elvis. Because Elvis movies were played to their strength. Jim Brown was played to his strength.
Right. I mean,
And
if I just want to like run down a couple of other movies that
mm,
I forgot he was in The Running Man. I
yes.
for, I forgot he was Fireball in that one.
Hmm.
He was in Any Given Sunday, Draft Day, which has now become a bit of like a classic as far as like sports films are
Well, Any Given
concerned.
Sunday kind of did too.
Oh yeah, no, Any Given Sunday was definitely there, but that was like anybody who was oriented with football was in that movie. Um, let's see what else. I had a good time on Arliss.
Hmm.
Small Soldiers. He was a voice of Butch Meathead. He Got Game.
Hmm.
Um, Gangsters, which is a little bit of a throwback for me. Yeah, L.A. Heat. Oh, now we're
Hmm.
getting into like the real throwbacks of like the '80s action stuff. He was also on television in episodes of Chips, Knight Rider, T.J. Hooker, The
The A
A-Team.
Team. Yeah.
Whoa. Actually, I love that his character on the A-Team was called Steamroller. Like, again, you just know how to cast the man.
It's kind of like Carl Weathers, former NFL player,
Yeah,
or
he's
or
done pretty well for himself too.
or The Rock, former CFL player, but who's cut.
Yeah,
Calgary Stampeders. Sorry, you're not good enough for a CFL team. Good luck in the future. Um, but
he
yeah,
wasn't
Jim
good
Brown.
enough for Black Adam either, but still.
What's that?
No, just Black Adam bashing.
Mm. Which is part of the reason why, spoiler alert, he's in Fast 10, which kind of makes sense. But
Yeah, no, I haven't seen the movie yet. I probably won't see the movie. I didn't see Fast 9. I don't have any passion to see Fast 10. Good thing Davion saw it, but
I saw 9. It was, I watched a review of 10 today, and it said part of the problem that happened with 9 was the fact that some of the actors were kind of fighting behind the scenes. But by this point, you could tell they made it up and they were just happy to get along, happy to be there. The ninth one, they were there out of contractual obligation, so I think it hurt it a little bit. But the 10th one, everybody's just like, "Hey, good seeing you. Let's make another hokey movie. Let's blow stuff up somewhere." But,
wow. And then you look at how many movies he had like during like the 60s and 70s.
oh yeah, dude.
Wow. I mean, yeah, there's the Dirty Dozen, but then Dark of the Sun. Um, let's see, Tick Tick Tick.
Yeah, El Condor, Grasshopper.
Apparently, he had when the blaxploitation movies came in, which
Mhm.
is why he was put in "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker," which like really elevated some of the blaxploitation actors. Um, he had a couple of movies where his character was called Slaughter.
Yeah, I see that. Slaughter and Slaughter's big ripoff.
Yeah. In Slams, he played Curtis X Hook. Like, come on, that is a manly name, man.
Well, one down. No, no, no. One down, two to go from 1982. His name is simply Jay. The J stands for Jay. Yeah, but he's got names in there like Calvin Tyler, Stoker, Steamroller, Fireball, Slammer, Stedman, Sunset. Oh, I got a
Like, he
couple
was just a
Slammers in there.
hard man. Come on.
Yeah, but oh yeah, I'm so yeah, like I said, Butch Meathook, Montezuma Monroe.
Dude, just uh people talk about like being manly. Jim Brown was
I
manly.
was talking to somebody the other day about like manly names, and generally speaking, if you ever have a guy with a name that ends with an X, typically there's a degree of badassery to it.
Mm,
Dax, Max, Alex. So
yeah, but something simple like just Jim Brown. Just
Jim Brown, damn
Mr.
right. Don't have to go
Brown.
anything detailed on that. So, but, but yeah. So, all right. Any other final thoughts? You think?
No, no, no. It's hope both of these gentlemen rest well. I can only imagine who the third death is going to be this week. Probably my childhood as I get a year older. And
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
know. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I'm
Happy
I'm turning a year older. We're not going to say what my age is. We're not saying what my age is.
age is just a number, and I'm on listen. But yes, happy birthday to you in just a couple more hours. By the way, congratulations on
Yes.
that. So
Also, are we going to be on next week or no because of the Memorial Day holiday?
I I figure we probably can skip or do it another day. I'm fine with that. We'll talk about that in due course. But yeah, I thought about that with Memorial Day. We may just take the day off.
Okay, okay, okay.
No,
Yeah, if anything, we may have a video going up this weekend in regards to someone seeing The Little Mermaid before everybody else.
that's
And
fine.
we'll have our 60-second review of that, as well as The Flash once Davy Young gets out of the theater
Which
later
I'm
on
literally
tonight.
waiting on to see if it shows up here.
Yeah. So we'll have those out of the theater reactions for you folks. Um, Outside of that, we did just have the return of Bad Movie Beatdown,
Yes,
where we watched Super Fast. And yeah, not as bad as I would have thought, but
that movie was
you judge for
definitely
yourself.
that was definitely a film that had people in it.
Oh,
So
can't give credit where credit's due.
no, no, I give it credit. It was a film. They had people in it, and they did things. You know, they were nouns that did verbs, sometimes involving adjectives. You know,
I got an adjective for you.
yeah, yeah. What are you saying? You got one thing you want to say to me?
No, 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 no. I
No.
mean, yeah,
So
had its bad points, but definitely worth a check out. If you want to go ahead, check that out. Queue it up with the watch along that we did. There's the little QR code in order to help you watch it. I think I don't know if that'll still be active, but you can. You're smart enough. You can figure it out. But
exactly.
if there's any other bad movies that you want us to go ahead and beat down, definitely let us know in the comments below or on any of our social media. And outside of that, we hope you enjoy the good beginning of your summer this year of 2023. Yeah, we probably will take off for Monday. And anything else on your end, Scott? Anything else you want to show out there?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
So
So,
then, yeah, let's hope June doesn't suck as much as we say it was going to.
and well, yeah. Until next time, guys. Take care, and you guys are awesome.
Why the divorce, man?